Dear friend, Abrike, there are nights that feel heavier than others, nights when the silence does not comfort you, but presses against your chest like a weight you cannot shake, when the air feels thicker, colder, and every sound in the room seems louder than it should be. The kind of night where even the ticking of the clock feels alive, when the shadows no longer stay where they belong but seem to stretch and move as if something inside them is quietly breathing. You tell yourself it is nothing, just the stillness of the world at rest, but your mind refuses to believe it. Your instincts whisper that something unseen is out there watching, waiting, hidden behind the calm. You try to focus on the ordinary, the soft hum of the fan, the faint glow of your phone, the rhythm of your own heartbeat, but the peace that once felt familiar now feels strange, foreign. Even the smallest details feel different. The curtains seem to shift, though the air is still. The glass of the window looks darker than usual, as though it hides more than it shows. There is a quiet pull drawing your eyes toward that darkness. Even when you try not to look, the silence feels too deep, as if the world itself is holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Some nights, the feeling grows stronger. It starts as a whisper in the back of your mind, but it spreads through your thoughts, wrapping around them like fog. You can almost sense that invisible gaze, following your every move, patient, unblinking. It does not come closer. It does not make a sound, but it never leaves. It simply watches you from beyond the glass. You start to wonder if maybe the night itself has grown eyes, if maybe the darkness has learned your name and waits quietly for the moment you finally dare to look back. It begins like any other night, calm, simple, and familiar, the kind of night where the world feels at peace and your mind is finally quiet after a long day. The soft hum of the fan fills the room like a gentle song. The faint glow of your phone lights up your face as you scroll aimlessly, lost in your own little world. The curtains sway slightly as a cool breeze slips through the window, and everything around you feels ordinary, safe, predictable, and beautifully still. You take a deep breath and feel a strange comfort in that silence, the kind of comfort that comes from routine, from knowing nothing unexpected will happen tonight outside the window. The street is empty, the sky is painted in dark blue shades, and the moon hangs quietly above, watching over everything. The trees stand motionless, as if frozen in time, and the only sound that exists is the soft ticking of the clock. Every detail feels so normal, so familiar, that you stop noticing it altogether. It is one of those nights that make you believe the world is harmless, that peace truly exists, that there is nothing waiting beyond what you can see. But somewhere within that quiet, something faint begins to shift, something small, almost unnoticeable. Maybe it is the way the air suddenly feels heavier, or the way the light outside seems to fade just a little more than usual. You feel it in your skin, in your breath, a subtle change that doesn't make sense. And yet it lingers there like a whisper at the back of your mind. You tell yourself it is. Nothing, just imagination, just the way nights sometimes play tricks on the senses. But the thought does not leave, it clings quietly to your awareness, hidden beneath the stillness. You glance at the window again, for no reason at all. Maybe curiosity, maybe instinct, and the glass looks different, darker, deeper, as though it is no longer reflecting your room but something else. Something that moves in the silence. You stare, without meaning to, drawn by something you cannot name, and for a moment it feels as if time itself has slowed. The sound of the fan fades, the tick of the clock stretches, and all that remains is that window waiting still, silent, patient. At first it is nothing more than a flicker, a blur caught at the edge of your sight, a movement that your mind tries to explain away as a trick of the light. You blink once, maybe twice, and it is gone. But the thought of it stays quietly in your chest. Heavy and uncertain, you lean a little closer toward the window, trying to see what it was. Maybe a shadow from the trees outside, maybe a passing car, maybe even your own reflection. Playing games with you, you wait a few seconds, staring into that dark glass, expecting nothing to happen, but something deep inside you knows you did not imagine it. Something was there, something real. The longer you look, the stranger it becomes. The darkness outside, no longer feels like simple night. It feels alive, shifting with a quiet rhythm as if something beyond the window is breathing slowly, carefully. In sync with you, your heart beats faster. Your eyes scan every corner of the glass, every faint reflection, every ripple of light, trying to find proof of what you saw. But there is nothing. No figure, no movement, no shape to blame for the unease spreading through your body. And yet the feeling does not fade. It grows heavier with every second, wrapping around you like invisible hands. You tell yourself it must have been nothing. Maybe your mind is tired. Maybe your eyes are playing tricks on you again, but your body knows better. Your body feels that invisible stare pressing from the darkness beyond the window. You try to look away, but something inside you refuses, something keeps. You there, staring, unblinking into the dark, as if waiting for that faint flicker to return. The seconds stretch longer, each one slower than the last. The hum of the room fades, and in that silence your heart becomes the only sound, echoing louder and louder, until you start to wonder whether the darkness is watching you back each night. The unease grows heavier, like a fog that seeps slowly into every corner of your room. It starts quietly, a faint sound, barely noticeable. The soft tap against the window pane that could easily be the wind, or maybe the branch of a nearby tree. But the sound keeps coming. It changes its rhythm, sometimes slow, sometimes sharp, as if whoever or whatever is making it is waiting for you to notice it. Your heart skips each time the sound returns, yet curiosity forces you to listen. Your mind tries to rationalize it, but deep inside, you know that this is not the kind of noise nature makes. It feels intentional, deliberate. You start to feel the air in the room change. It becomes cooler, not in the comforting way, but in the kind of cold that crawls beneath your skin and stays there. You wrap yourself tighter in your blanket, trying to convince yourself that it is nothing but the chill of the night. But the sensation keeps growing. The shadows around you feel heavier. The stillness of the room no longer feels peaceful but watchful, as if every dark corner is quietly holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Even the silence feels unnatural, too deep, too sharp, too focused on you. Your eyes begin to wander around the room, scanning the furniture, the walls, the corners you have seen 1,000 times before. Everything looks the same, yet different. The shadows stretch longer than they should. The light from the lamp flickers ever so slightly, and that faint tapping sound continues, now softer, more controlled, like fingers brushing gently against the glass. It is in that moment you realize that this is not about what you see, but about what you feel, the presence you cannot name, but can sense so clearly. You start to feel that invisible gaze pressing from the darkness outside, like eyes that have chosen you and only you to watch tonight. You keep telling yourself it is nothing, that your mind is simply tired, that shadows and silence are nothing more than tricks of exhaustion. You repeat it like a mantra, convincing yourself that everything has an ordinary explanation. The world is full of illusions, you think, and fear is one of them. Yet every night that logic feels weaker and weaker, you try to find comfort in reason. But the truth is, reason does not fit what you have seen. You tell yourself it must be a reflection. Maybe the movement of tree branches swaying in the wind, or the lights of a passing car bending through the window. But when you go closer, the angle of the glass betrays you, Brihi. There is no reflection, only darkness, pure and endless. You keep testing your own senses, turning the lights off, then on again, opening the curtain halfway, then closing it, just to prove that what you think you saw was a mistake. Yet no matter how many times you try, the unease remains. It lingers like a whisper in the air, reminding you that something about this night is different. Your reflection no longer feels like your own. It shifts slightly slower than your movements, as if the person in the glass is pretending to be you, mimicking your gestures with a delay that feels too deliberate. You blink once and swear the figure blinks a second later. The delay is small, but it is enough to make your stomach twist. You sit down again, trying to distract yourself with your phone or with music, but the silence outside refuses to fade. The darkness beyond the glass feels alive, waiting still, watching you. Begin to wonder if your senses are betraying you, or if they are warning you of something real. You try to laugh it off, telling yourself that fear has always been part of human nature, a leftover instinct from ancient times, when shadows meant danger. But that thought does not comfort you anymore, because tonight it does not feel like instinct. It feels like awareness, like the darkness itself has noticed your denial and is quietly waiting for you to stop pretending the nights no longer feel normal. The shadow no longer hides behind excuses or tricks of light. It is there every time now, waiting silently outside the window, its shape darker than the rest of the night, and its outline more defined than any shadow should ever be. You can see that it has weight, that it belongs to something living, something aware. It doesn't move like the wind or the trees, it moves with intention, slow, steady, patient, as if it knows you are watching. And it wants you to see it each time you glance toward the glass. It is standing in the same place, but never quite the same distance away. Sometimes near the fence, sometimes closer, sometimes right against the window pane. Its stillness feels heavier than motion. The air inside your room begins to change when it appears. The temperature drops just slightly enough for your breath to turn faintly visible. Your heart beats harder, the rhythm echoing in your ears, until it becomes all you can hear. The silence outside feels unnatural, as though the world has stopped to listen with you. Not a single leaf stirs, not a single insect makes a sound. There is only you, the window, and that shape waiting beyond it. You cannot tell if it has eyes, but somehow you feel its gaze, meeting yours, unblinking, steady, relentless. It watches with a quiet hunger that no human stare could hold. You start counting the seconds between your breaths, forcing yourself to stay calm, but your body refuses. The fear moves through you like cold electricity. You pull the curtain shut, but that doesn't help because the feeling remains, that heavy awareness pressing from outside, like the darkness itself is leaning closer to the glass. Sometimes you think you can hear it, a faint scrape, as if fingertips are brushing against the window, tracing the outline of where you stand. The shadow doesn't need to move anymore, because it has already done what it came to do. It has made you see it, and now it simply waits, knowing that every night, when darkness falls, you will look for it again. There comes a moment when fear and curiosity collide, when your need to know the truth outweighs the terror that has been growing inside you. Night after night, you reach the point where you can no longer pretend that it is your imagination. You need to see it for yourself to understand what is standing beyond that glass. The tension builds inside your chest until it feels like your heart is going to burst. Your breath grows shallow, your hands tremble, but your mind whispers that it will be better if you just look once, and prove that it is nothing. You rise slowly from your bed. Every sound in the room seems louder. Now the creak of the floor, the hum of the fan, even the faint beat of your pulse as you take a step closer to the window. The air feels thick, like invisible walls are closing in around you. Each step feels heavier than the last. Your body screams for you to stop, to turn around, and leave the curtain untouched. But your curiosity pushes you forward. You reach the window, and for a moment you simply stand there, staring at the thin fabric that separates you from the outside world. The tapping has stopped. The silence is total, and in that silence you can hear the faint rhythm of your heartbeat echoing against the walls of your skull. The instinct to flee is overwhelming, but you force yourself to lift your hand. Your fingers brush against the curtain. The fabric is cold, colder than it should be, and that cold travels through your skin like ice. You pull the curtain aside, and for a heartbeat the world freezes. The darkness outside is no longer empty. The shadow that once stood far away is now close enough to see clearly, its shape more defined, its presence undeniable. The glass between you feels too thin, too fragile. Its surface fogs faintly with each of your breaths. You stare into the dark, trying to make sense of what you are seeing. But the longer you look, the less human it seems. There is something wrong about its form, something that does not fit the shape of anything. You know it does not move, it does not blink. It only watches you with a stillness so deep it feels eternal. Your throat tightens, your muscles lock, your body refuses to obey as a chill, deeper than cold, runs down your spine, and you realize that you are no longer the observer, you are the one being observed. After that night, everything inside you begins to change. The fear does not leave. It stays quietly in the back of your mind, like a shadow that refuses to fade even in daylight. The morning comes, but the sunlight feels weaker than it used to. The world outside looks the same, yet somehow emptier. You tell yourself that what you saw was just a dream, that exhaustion made you imagine things, but every time you pass by the window, you feel it again, that faint chill, that creeping awareness that you are not alone. You start keeping the curtains closed, but even then you can sense it just beyond the fabric, waiting silently, watching patiently. Your home, that once felt safe, now feels like a fragile shell, barely keeping something out. The nights become worse because sleep no longer brings rest. You wake up suddenly at odd hours with the strange feeling that something has moved inside the room. The air feels heavy, thick with silence. You turn on the lights and everything looks normal, but your heart keeps racing. Your hands shake as you reach for water. You try to calm yourself, but your mind replays the same image over and over again. That still dark figure staring from the other side of the glass. Its outline burned into your thoughts, no matter how hard you try to. Forget it refuses to fade. It lingers like a scar on your memory. You start to notice small things that never used to bother you. The faint reflection in the mirror that seems slightly delayed, the sound of faint footsteps behind you when you know no one else is there, the flicker of movement at the edge of your vision when you are sure the room is empty. You try to convince yourself that it is stress, that you are imagining it all, but deep down you know the difference between imagination and instinct, and your instincts are screaming louder. Each day you can feel its presence now, not just outside, but closer, as if whatever was once behind the window has followed you inside, not in body, but in memory, in thought, in the quiet corners of your mind where fear takes root and grows. The feeling never leaves. It becomes a part of you, like a second heartbeat that you cannot silence. You try to live as if nothing has changed, but the truth is, everything has. Every quiet room, every shadow, every reflection now feels like a reminder that something is still out there watching you. It does not matter where you go. The sense of being seen follows like a presence that has learned your name and refuses to forget you. You begin to notice it in the smallest details, the way the curtains shift without the wind, the faint outline in the corner of your vision that disappears when you turn your head, the whisper of movement that feels too controlled, too deliberate. You stop sleeping near the window, but that only helps for a while because the unease grows, it adapts, it follows. The silence itself seems different now, too deep, too focused, as if the air is waiting for your next breath. Sometimes you catch your reflection in the mirror, and for a moment you swear it moves differently than you do, its eyes holding a kind of knowing that is not yours. The thought terrifies you, but you cannot look away. You study your reflection, trying to find proof that it is normal. But the longer you stare, the stranger it feels, until the line between what is you and what is watching blurs completely. Every night carries the same tension, the same awareness of something that refuses to be forgotten. You can close every curtain, lock every door, and drown the silence with noise. But that feeling always returns stronger, more certain. You feel it when the lights go out, when the house grows quiet, when you finally let your guard down, and just for a second, your eyes drift toward the window, the same window where it all began. The glass looks darker than before, almost alive, and though nothing is visible, you can sense it there on the other side, unmoving, patient, its gaze pressed against the darkness, waiting for you to notice that it has never left. And now every night feels different, yet hauntingly the same. The silence that once felt peaceful now crawls beneath your skin, filling every corner of the room with a quiet tension. You can almost taste you. Try to tell yourself that everything is fine, that whatever you saw was nothing more than exhaustion or a trick of the light. But the thought never stays. It slips back into your mind, again and again, like a whisper you cannot silence. The air feels heavier after dark, as if the night itself has learned to breathe with you, and every time you move, you sense that something moves too, just out of sight. You avoid the window now, but that doesn't help, because even with the curtains closed, you still feel it, that pull, that presence, that quiet awareness pressing from the other side. Sometimes it feels close enough to touch, like if you dared to reach out, your fingers would brush against cold glass, and something colder beyond it. You leave the lights on, but the light only makes the shadows deeper, stronger, more alive. The stillness of the room no longer feels safe. It feels like an audience, waiting for a show. that never ends. You start counting the hours till dawn, hoping that sunlight might wash the fear away, but even in daylight the feeling lingers. It hides in reflections, in mirrors, in the dark corners of your vision. Every flicker of movement makes your heart race. Every sound feels like a warning. You tell yourself not to look back, not to think about it, but the thought follows you everywhere. It has settled inside your mind, a quiet presence that never sleeps, and somewhere beyond the window, beyond the glass, beyond the fragile wall between you and the night, something still waits. Patient, silent, unmoving, its gaze locked on you, as if it has all the time in the world.